Now we start this hour in the Middle East, where US President Donald Trump has dismissed an effort by Israeli lawmakers to annex the West Bank. Trump has said that Israel is not going to do anything with the West Bank. This comes as two bills applying Israeli law to the West Bank won preliminary approval from Israeli lawmakers. Let's take a listen in to what President Trump has had to say.
The West Bank is, don't worry about the West Bank. Israel's not going to do anything with the West Bank, okay? Don't worry about it. Is that your question? They're not going to do anything with the West Bank. Don't worry about it. Israel's doing very well. They're not going to do anything with it.
After receiving criticism from the United States, Israel has temporarily frozen the legislative process on the two controversial bills concerning the annexation following their preliminary approval in Parliament. Chairman of the government coalition, Ophir Katz, has announced that the proposed laws, which seek to extend Israeli sovereignty over the entire West Bank and formally annex the large settlement of Ma'ale Adumim near Jerusalem, would not move forward until further notice. We are now joined by Professor Ephraim Imbar. He's a senior researcher at the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security. He joins us live from Jerusalem. Thank you very much for joining us, Professor Imbar. Professor, we knew Donald Trump's stance on this. This was a statement made on the eve of Benjamin Netanyahu's speech at the United Nations. We knew the United States' and Donald Trump's stance on the Israeli annexation of the West Bank. Yet, on J.D. Vance's visit and post Middle East peace deal, the Knesset decided to vote on it anyway. Was this a sort of political provocation? What was the political messaging here with this?
It obviously was a political provocation by the extremists in Netanyahu's government, who are devoted to the idea of Greater Israel, and which means also annexing the West Bank. This is not within the Israeli consensus. And indeed, if we take a look at the numbers of the votes, it was approved by 24 Knesset members out of the 120, which shows actually the unpopularity of such a step. And Netanyahu, the prime minister, was clearly against it. And he tried to prevent the vote, but there are certain procedures in the Israeli parliament that he could not control, and this is why a small faction of the government brought to a vote, which is not binding the government, and I don't think that anything will come out of it.
Professor Imbar, of course, after the US was vocal of this legislation, it was redacted. What does this say about the partnership between Israel and the United States?
I don't think that it changed much. It was obviously not a very diplomatic move on part of some Knesset members to attract criticism from the United States. But business between Washington and Jerusalem is as usual. Washington is supporting Israel. It needs Israel to create a new reality in Gaza. And therefore, the close relationship between Israel and the United States is going to continue, particularly as long as President Trump is sitting in the White House. He's a great supporter of Israel, a good friend with Netanyahu. And I think that both countries will overcome this mini crisis.
Okay, Professor Imbar, hold that thought. Do stay with us. We have more information coming at our viewers. Meanwhile, in Saudi Arabia and several other Arab and Muslim countries have condemned the Israeli bills that call for the annexation of the occupied West Bank. The 15 countries, including Palestine, Qatar, Egypt, and as well as the Arab League and Organization of Islamic Cooperation, have said that they condemn in the strongest terms the two bills that earlier received lawmakers' approval in Israel. The countries have described the bills as a blatant violation of international law. Meanwhile, the Arab countries have welcomed the International Court of Justice's advisory opinion, which said Israel was obliged to ease the passage of aid into Gaza. Further, the nations have warned against Israel's unilateral actions and policies and urged global powers to stop its unlawful measures in the Palestinian territory. Professor Imbar, of course, the international community, including the United Nations, sees not just this annexation proposal, which of course we have discussed, but also the settlements inside the West Bank as illegal. Your thoughts on this statement that have come out from the Arab countries, which of course Donald Trump, we now know, values very dearly. That they were, of course, his first foreign visit. They were that of the Gulf countries. Your analysis, Professor Imbar?
Well, first of all, the Israeli position has been that Israel has a territorial claim to the West Bank. This area was conquered by Jordan in 1949, and only two countries in the world, Pakistan and the United Kingdom, recognize Jordanian sovereignty over this territory. This is part of the mandatory Palestine, and Israel sees itself as an heir to the British mandate. The question is not the legal right. I think obviously the Jews have a right to live anywhere in the world, and more so in the area which they consider their homeland. The question is whether it is politically smart to annex the territory. And here there are differences of opinion in Israel about this issue. This government, with the support of the United States, by the way, is considering annexing parts of the West Bank, particularly those parts that are strategically important. Also, the Trump plan of during his previous tenure as president actually suggested that Israel should annex certain parts of the West Bank. And the American position is that the Israeli settlement act is not illegal. And there are countries that do not think so, but to say that a place where our prophets operated 2,000 years ago is not part of our homeland is something that is totally unacceptable to the Jewish nation.
However, Professor Imbar, one could also say that in usual Trumpian manner, he could seem to have flipped the switch in that regard. He obviously, as the new chair of the Board of Peace, has to appease the Arab neighbors of the Middle East. Your thoughts on that? Of course, we have to bear in mind that these are very close allies of the United States as well, and these are the terms that they have very much pushed forward.
I think that President Trump needs some Arab partners in order to get rid of Hamas from Gaza. They are in a better position to put pressure on Gaza to disarm and leave Gaza to some other place. But, and this is why he reacted in such a way, particularly since the Israeli move was not coordinated with the White House. We understand the Trump position, and the government, particularly Prime Minister Netanyahu, tried to explain to Mr. Trump that this was basically a political provocation which was intended to embarrass Netanyahu. Those extremists are more concerned with their political base than the interests of the state of Israel, unfortunately. And this is why this happened.
Yes, Professor Imbar, do stay with us. We have further updates from the region. US Secretary of State